Hey there, friends! Whether this is your very first time joining us or you've been with us for a while now, welcome back to Speak Up. We're honestly so happy you're here. Every time someone presses play on one of our episodes, it's not just a number, it's a person. It's someone out there who's trying to grow, trying to learn, maybe even trying to feel a little more confident in English. And that's why we do this. So thank you for being here, wherever you're listening from. And hey, if you find even a little bit of value in what we're sharing today, we'd love it if you could subscribe. It helps this podcast reach more people like you, people who care, who are trying, who want to improve their English without pressure or fear. You're part of this growing family, and your support makes it all possible.
Yes, truly. Thank you. Every message we receive, every download, every listener who tells us, hey, I feel more confident after listening to you two, it touches us. And today we're bringing you a topic that feels really personal because it's something a lot of people are using, but maybe not really thinking about. We're talking about ChatGPT and how it's quietly shaping our daily lives, not just in techie ways, but in very human ways too. For English learners especially, it's becoming more than a tool. It's a kind of companion, a daily practice partner, even a safe place to make mistakes and keep going. In this episode, we'll share what that looks like, how ChatGPT is helping people learn English fast, improve fluency, and feel supported in ways they didn't expect.
And here's the thing. This topic matters because it's about real moments. You know those quiet times when you don't feel brave enough to speak in English in front of others, or when you have a question and you feel too embarrassed to ask? That's where ChatGPT steps in, gently, patiently. It's not just about learning phrases or grammar rules. It's about confidence, about knowing there's something or someone you can turn to even in the middle of the night. We've seen how it's becoming part of people's routines, from writing small emails to understanding their own emotions in English. And we're going to break it all down with honesty and care like we always do.
Yeah. This isn't a tech talk episode. This is a real talk episode. Because behind the screen, behind the answers, there's a human experience happening. One where people are learning, growing, even healing, all through their daily interactions with AI. You'll hear how ChatGPT helps with daily English practice, how it supports people emotionally while they're building fluency, and how it fits into real life in quiet but powerful ways. So if you've ever felt nervous to speak, or if you're curious about how to use this tool better, this one's for you. We're really excited to share this with you. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin. One conversation at a time.
You know, it's funny. Most people don't plan to use ChatGPT every day. It usually starts with just one random question, maybe something simple, like, how do I say this sentence in English? Or, can you help me fix my grammar? And then before they know it, it becomes part of their day. I've seen it happen with friends, even with myself. I remember thinking, oh, I'll just test it once. But the next day, I used it again, and then again. It's strange how something that feels so small at first quietly becomes a habit, not in a loud, dramatic way, just naturally, like brushing your teeth or checking the weather.
Yes, exactly. I think it's because it feels safe. There's no pressure, no one's watching you. You can ask the same question 10 times and no one rolls their eyes. That kind of emotional safety is so rare, especially when you're learning a new language. We all carry this fear of being judged when we speak English, right? But ChatGPT doesn't judge. It doesn't sigh or interrupt. It just responds calmly, kindly, every time. I think that's why people start depending on it more and more, even without realizing it. There's something really gentle about that.
Yeah. It's like, at first, you're just using it to check your spelling, but then it becomes your little assistant. You ask it to rephrase something, explain a phrase, or even help you write a text message. And it gives you answers that actually make sense. Not robotic, but useful. That moment when you realize, hey, I trust this thing to help me sound more natural in English. That's a big shift. That's when you go from curiosity to comfort. And I think that's when real learning starts to happen. Quiet, consistent learning that feels like part of your life.
And it's not even about being tech savvy, you know? Most of the people using it every day are not computer experts. They're just curious. They try it once, and when it actually helps, it creates this loop. Curiosity turns into usefulness. And when something is useful, and it makes your life just a little bit easier, you go back to it again and again. It's very human. We all want ease. We all want something that makes us feel a little more confident, especially in moments where we usually feel small.
That's so true. And it also removes the fear of failure. Like, if I mess up in front of a person, I remember that moment all day. But if I make a mistake in ChatGPT, it's gone. No awkward silence, no embarrassment, just a quiet correction, and I move on. And for someone learning English, especially on their own, that's huge. You start trusting yourself more. You start trying more. It's not just about using an app. It's about feeling okay with not being perfect. That's where the habit really grows from.
And maybe that's why it sticks. Because it's not trying to motivate you with flashy lessons or rewards. It just shows up. It helps. It listens. And little by little, that daily interaction becomes something meaningful. It's not dramatic. It's just steady. And in a world that often moves too fast, that steadiness feels comforting. So what starts as a maybe I'll try this moment turns into something that quietly supports you every single day.
You know, one of the things I hear from English learners all the time is, I'm scared to ask stupid questions. And honestly, I get that. When you're in a classroom or even just chatting with someone, there's always that fear, like, what if I mess up or what if they laugh? But ChatGPT doesn't react like that. It doesn't roll its eyes or make you feel small. You can ask the same question 5 times in 5 different ways, and it still answers you, patiently, respectfully. That's why so many people use it like their private tutor, not just for definitions or grammar rules, but for real human-like help. It makes it easier to learn English fast without feeling judged or rushed.
Exactly. And I think one of the most beautiful things about it is that you don't need to pretend. You can literally type in, what does "I'm down for it" mean? Or why do people say gonna instead of going to? And ChatGPT doesn't laugh. It doesn't say, you should know this by now. It just helps. That kind of freedom to ask so-called silly questions, that's powerful, especially when you're trying to improve your English fluency. You're not just memorizing vocabulary anymore. You're building real understanding. And the fact that you can do it quietly, at your own pace, makes it feel safe, really safe.
Right. And the way it personalizes the experience, that's another level. You can literally say, hey, explain this to me like I'm a beginner. Or, can you break this down with examples? And boom, it adapts. No ego, no pressure. That's something traditional classrooms often miss. And let's be honest, not everyone learns well in a classroom. Some people need to ask, repeat, review, and feel their way through the language. ChatGPT gives you that. It meets you where you are. And when you have something like that in your pocket, someone or something that meets you with patience every time, you grow faster. You really do.
Yeah, and even with simple things like spelling or sentence structure, it's there. You can type out a sentence you're unsure about and ask, is this natural? And it tells you not just what's wrong, but why. That's huge, because when you understand why, you remember. You grow. And over time, it becomes your routine. I know people who start their mornings with a little ChatGPT warm-up. They write something, ask a follow-up question, fix a sentence. That's daily English practice that feels personal. And it makes you feel seen, even though it's just text on a screen. You're never rushed. You're never laughed at. You're just supported.
And it's also great for speaking practice. You know that technique shadowing, where you repeat what you hear to improve pronunciation and rhythm? I've seen learners type a sentence in the ChatGPT, get it rewritten in natural English, then use that to practice speaking, over and over. It's not just about talking more, it's about talking better. It gives you feedback without fear. You can even ask it to correct your pronunciation mistakes or help you sound more natural. And that's where real growth happens, in those small, honest moments where you say, hey, I need help, and help actually shows up.
Totally. It kind of removes that feeling of being behind or too late to learn. ChatGPT doesn't care how old you are, what your accent sounds like, or how many mistakes you've made in the past. It's just there, like a quiet, reliable guide. And because it doesn't rush you, you start trusting yourself more. You try new phrases, you write longer sentences, you explore. And little by little, you start sounding more like yourself, but in English. That's not just language learning, that's self-expression. And honestly, that's one of the best English speaking tips we could ever give. Find a way to practice that makes you feel safe enough to be yourself.
You know, one of the most surprising things for me was realizing how hard it is to express your emotions in a second language. Not just the basic stuff like I'm happy or I'm sad, but the real complicated feelings, like when you're overwhelmed or anxious or even proud of yourself. And when you don't have the words for those feelings, you start to feel stuck inside your own mind. But what I've seen and felt, honestly, is that ChatGPT gives people space to find those words. You can say, how do I talk about this feeling in English? And it helps, gently, without making you feel like you're failing.
Yes, and sometimes that moment of typing something deeply personal, something you've never said in English before, it's kind of emotional. Like, imagine trying to explain your heartbreak or your loneliness or even just your stress from work. You type it out, unsure if it even makes sense, and then ChatGPT responds with something soft. Something like, it's okay to feel that way. It might sound simple, but for someone learning English, that can be really powerful because it's not just about grammar or phrases, it's about being heard. And once you've felt that once, you start trusting the language more. You trust yourself more.
And I think that's where confidence starts. Not in the classroom, but in those private, vulnerable moments when you say something real and you get kindness back. And it's not just a one-time thing. It's the repetition, that quiet back and forth, where you say something, get corrected gently, try again, and realize it doesn't hurt. You're not being shamed, you're learning. And more than that, you're connecting to yourself, to the language, maybe even to something deeper. And every time that happens, your confidence grows a little more, quietly, naturally.
I've talked to learners who say they use ChatGPT almost like a journal. They write about their day, their thoughts, their feelings, and they ask for help turning those ideas into natural English. And over time, they build this emotional vocabulary that makes them feel seen. Like they can finally say what they feel, not just in their head, but out loud in English. That's such a beautiful thing. Because once you can speak your emotions, you're not just learning vocabulary, you're reclaiming your voice. You're saying, this is what I feel, this is who I am. And every time you do that, it's like building a bridge between your heart and your words. And that's when the learning gets personal. It's not about memorizing phrases anymore. It's about meaning.
And yet, it's not just about words. It's about feeling understood. You know, what's kind of amazing is how ChatGPT has started slipping into these tiny parts of daily life. Like, I used it the other day just to help write a short message to reschedule a doctor's appointment. Nothing big, but I didn't want to sound too formal or too casual. I typed in what I wanted to say, and in a few seconds, I had something that felt just right. It wasn't a big moment, but it made my day easier. That's how it happens, right? One small use here, one little task there, and suddenly it's part of your routine. Not because you planned it, just because it helps.
Yes. And sometimes it's not even about learning English. It's just about life. I had a friend who used ChatGPT to write a simple bedtime story for her daughter, something short and sweet. She said she was tired, her brain felt foggy, and she just needed help thinking. That's what this tool does. It steps in during those small, quiet moments when your mind feels full or your words won't come. It's like emotional support, but also practical support. Not loud, not flashy, just present, helpful, like a smart, patient friend in your pocket who never gets annoyed when you need help.
And I think that quietness, that gentle presence is why people come back to it. It doesn't shout at you or tell you to be more productive. It just answers. You're writing a grocery list and suddenly you're wondering, how do you say laundry detergent in English? Boom, there it is. Or maybe you're explaining something complicated to your kid and you want to make sure you're saying it clearly. You ask ChatGPT to simplify it, and it does. These aren't big, dramatic uses, but they matter because life isn't always dramatic. Most of the time, it's just, well, everyday stuff. And now this tool is part of that rhythm.
I love that you said rhythm because that's exactly what it is. We all have these little routines, making breakfast, replying to messages, planning dinner, and somewhere in between, we ask a quick question, get a quick answer. That's how ChatGPT fits in. It's not just a tool for big essays or deep questions. It's a helper for the tiny things too. And honestly, that's where trust builds. When something helps you every day, without judgment, without drama, you start depending on it. Not in the bad way, just in a soft, steady way. Like, it's there, and that's comforting.
And you don't even notice when it becomes part of your daily thinking. It's almost like mental background music. You're doing something and then you reach for it quietly, automatically. Like, hey, how do I say this better? Or, is this sentence okay? And you get an answer. No waiting, no shame. That's when it really becomes part of your personal routine. When you don't think about using it anymore, you just do. Because it's not interrupting your day. It's flowing with it, supporting it. And in some ways, that's more powerful than anything.
It's true. I think we sometimes underestimate how valuable that quiet support can be. We talk a lot about motivation and big goals, but sometimes what really keeps us going is just having something or someone that shows up for the little things. And that's what ChatGPT does. It helps with the ordinary, the simple, the human. And because of that, it becomes part of how we move through the day, like a small light we carry with us. But with every tool comes the boundary, and that's where things get interesting.
You know, Priya, I've had moments where I've stopped mid-sentence and asked myself, wait, am I using ChatGPT for everything now? It's convenient, it's helpful, no doubt, but sometimes I catch myself reaching for it even when I could just think something through or ask a friend. It's not a bad thing, but it does make me wonder about balance, you know? When does support turn into a kind of quiet dependency?
Yes, Ryan, I felt that too. There've been evenings where I'd usually call my cousin to talk through something, but instead I just opened ChatGPT. It was faster, easier, but later I missed that human laugh, that shared silence. I think that's the part we forget sometimes. Technology can listen, yes, but it doesn't really feel with us. And sometimes we need someone who does.
Exactly. And I think it's okay to rely on ChatGPT, especially when you need clarity or support with language or ideas. But if it replaces real connection, that's where I hesitate. I've started asking myself, is this a tech moment or a human moment? That little pause helps. It reminds me to stay grounded and not drift too far into screens.
I like that. Is this a tech moment or a human moment? That's such a powerful filter. And I think part of the emotional awareness comes from noticing how you feel after using ChatGPT. Do you feel lighter, more prepared, or a bit numb, like something's missing? I've learned to listen to that feeling. It tells me when it's time to step away and talk to someone. Really talk.
Yeah, and there's no judgment in that choice, just awareness. Sometimes I use ChatGPT for emotional clarity, like to write out what I'm feeling before I speak it out loud. But I never want to forget what it feels like to share those feelings with a real person. The awkward pauses, the the warmth. Machines don't offer that. They guide, but they don't hold.
Beautifully said, Ryan. And honestly, when we use tech with intention, not as an escape, but as a tool, it becomes something supportive, not something that steals our human space. That's the balance, right? Not pushing it away, but not giving it everything. Just knowing when it's time to be present and when it's okay to get a little help.
You know, Priya, sometimes I sit back and imagine where all this is heading. ChatGPT helping not just with grammar or vocabulary, but maybe even guiding people through moments of self-doubt, creative blocks, or anxiety. I mean, it already does that in small ways, gently, like a coach that never judges. But I wonder, how far can it go? Could it really become part of how we grow emotionally and mentally?
I think it already is part of that journey, Ryan. I've used it during late nights when I couldn't sleep to sort my thoughts, to write a journal entry, or just feel heard without being judged. It's not therapy, but it gives me space to breathe. But here's the thing. It's not about being amazed by the tech. It's about how we use it. If we keep seeing it as a partner, not a replacement, it can truly help us grow.
That's exactly it. Grounded optimism, not hype. I'm excited about the future of AI, but I also remind myself no matter how advanced it becomes, it can't feel what we feel. And when it comes to language learning, emotional expression, or connection, it's practice with real people that shapes you. You can read 1,000 sentences, but unless you speak them, they don't really become part of you.
Yes, and I think that's the part we have to protect, the human part. ChatGPT can inspire creativity. I've written poems with it, ideas for short stories, even funny emails. But it's what I bring to it, my memories, my voice, my feelings, that makes it alive. We grow when we participate, not just consume. We grow when we speak, fumble, laugh, try again. That can't be automated.
And honestly, Priya, the more I've used ChatGPT, the more I've learned about myself. It reflects back what I ask, and sometimes that makes me ask better questions. But in the end, it's still a reflection. It's not a friend who notices the change in your tone or sees the way your eyes light up when you speak. That kind of growth, the kind we're having right now, only happens between people.
That's beautifully said, Ryan. Because at the end of the day, even the smartest AI can't replace what you and I are doing right now. Talking, sharing, feeling. That's where the real growth happens. And maybe the future isn't about choosing between humans or AI. Maybe it's about making space for both, wisely, intentionally, and with heart.
Wow, what a journey today has been. From fear and hesitation to confidence, creativity, and connection, we've explored how tools like ChatGPT can support us, but never replace the magic of real human conversations. If you've made it this far with us, thank you. Seriously, your time is valuable, and we truly hope we've made it worth it. Every word we spoke today came from a real place, not just to teach you English, but to help you feel seen, understood, and empowered.
And I just want to add, thank you for sharing this space with us. Whether you're walking, cooking, or sitting quietly somewhere, we know you chose to spend this moment with us, and we don't take that lightly. We do our best to make your time meaningful, to give you something real to hold on to. Keep practicing, keep growing, and most importantly, keep speaking. We'll be right here, cheering you on every step of the way.